Hello YouTube, welcome to my podcast. In today's video, we are going to be going through a very intensive exercise of thinking through some very intense materials. So get ready for that. So today, let's talk about human suffering, shall we? Well, I shouldn't be this excited to talk about something that is very grave and difficult on a human soul, but let us analyze and understand and decipher what it means to be a human being, essentially. You see, a human being is a very interesting creature because oftentimes you do not know the capacity and ability of a human being until you put that person in an extremely challenging circumstances. Well, you personally might have felt and have come across this realization. For instance, when you were giving a test or studying for an exam or running a marathon or perhaps confessing your feelings to a loved one, to a crush. At those moments precisely, what you'll come to understand is your ability, not your perceived ability, but your actual ability. Because at those very moments, you are not yourself. Or let's say you are not the person that you think you are. You're something extraordinary. You are manifesting something that is much deeper within you, that is of quintessential value. So at those moments precisely, you are extending yourself beyond your comprehension. You are tentatively but certainly becoming something that is beyond you, okay? And there are times when you are feeling very low and very misunderstood and very small, because at those moments you are not expressing your inner entities or inner archetypes, and you are essentially cheating on yourself and to the broader community. So for instance, when you do not study for your exams, or when you do not confess your feeling to, let's say, a crush or an arrogant boss, or let's say someone who offended you, and you just pile up those emotions inside yourself and build up a stack of resentment and malevolence, then what happens is you become corrupted in a sense, and then you lose the link between yourself and those entities that reside within yourself. Then you become weak and small and disrespectful and arrogant and angry, hateful, revengeful, vengeful, because you have piled up those emotions and not let them out. So let's link this to the matter in question for this video: suffering. I understand that you fully comprehend what suffering encompasses, because all your life, from the moment you are born, you have been introduced to this very aspect of being a human being. Well, many of us might despise that our life is fundamentally filled with agony, despair, deceit, malevolence, betrayal, tragedy. But if you think it in a much deeper sense, what you'll come to understand is, for you to be a human being, you must suffer. Well, because it is a fundamental essential criteria of being a human being. It's a definition of being a human being. Because, well, if you ask, what is it that does not suffer? What is it that is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient? Well, the answer to that question is God. God is what is something that does not suffer. But since you are a fragile human being, you have to suffer. That's the unwritten and default condition of being a human being. Because you are a fragile entity, you are physically vulnerable, emotionally inept, psychologically dependent. In all sorts of sense, you are weak. Well, I'm not being judgmental in that we are weak creatures, but we are weak because we are fragile. If we weren't fragile, we wouldn't be weak. So it is an essential element of being a human being, nothing to despise against. So, well, the first truth of Buddhism, the first novel truth of Buddhism, life is suffering. The sooner you come to terms with this idea, the better. The more fulfillment you'll encounter, the less troublesome your existence will become, and you will certainly ameliorate the amount of suffering that is existent in the modern world or in your vicinity, because all you can do is decrease the amount of suffering and not contribute to it any further than necessary, because that's the best you as an individual can do. And if we collectively act together to ameliorate the existing suffering, you have absolutely no clue at all as to how much progress and prosperity and vitality we will be able to introduce to our society and our community and our family and to ourselves individually. So it's only a matter of making a decision. It's telling yourself that you will, from this point forward, act in a manner that is congruent with your inner self, your conscience. Okay? You should be very careful, because you should be very careful while acting in the broader community. Okay? Because when you act in an incongruent manner, you will feel it inside of yourself. You'll feel that you're not being true to yourself. You'll feel that you're deceiving yourself. You're lying to yourself. You're cheating yourself, because your conscience will, so to speak, declare and announce to you that you are being a jerk, being a moron, being a stupid person. Do remember those times when your conscience tells you not to do certain things, but you inevitably do that precise thing, and then later on regret. And then you ask yourself, well, how can I be such a foolish person to have done such a reprehensible act? And you consult with your conscience, and then at every time your conscience is right, because it is right. It knows fundamentally it is the purest form of you in some sense. And the answer to your life's suffering essentially is consulting with your conscience and acting in congruent with your inner self, so that you do not wreak havoc, you do not contribute any more suffering to the existing pile of burden and torture and malevolence, but instead you try to ameliorate the existing suffering. You try to bring the heaven into the hell. You're trying to manifest and transform chaos into a habitable order. That is what our great mythologies have been telling us for for millennia, but we, a modern people, have become completely blinded to such a rich and sophisticated history at our own peril. I hope this video has been of great and immense value, although I have gone all over the place because of my lack of full comprehension of the subject material at hand, because I believe none of us can have a full comprehension of the material, but my willingness and my enthusiasm to delve into these recesses of human experience will certainly prove of immense benefit to myself and to all of the people listening to this podcast at this very moment, because we are collectively facing this issue and we need to act in order to solve solve the problem and live a meaningful and fulfilled existence. I hope I didn't make the material very confusing, because these are my first attempts at expressing myself, and it is understandable that people are flawed creatures, me included, and I am not very comprehensive and articulate at this very moment. But if you continue to express yourself on a regular basis, what you'll come to understand is you improve and you get better as time progresses. I hope in future videos I'll be able to contrast my present self and the self that I'll be inhabiting in those subsequent videos. And it's going to be an interesting experiment for myself as well, and for people watching this video to encounter how I have transformed myself over the years. I hope this video was helpful, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel in order to stay in touch, because I will be uploading these kinds of insights on a regular basis. Thank you.